Hey everybody, welcome, welcome, welcome. Happy Wednesday. Thank you for joining me here on the Flipside. I'm Sam. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. If you do like this kind of content, we're going to be doing a live review here today, but if you do like this kind of content, I would appreciate it if you would consider hitting those like and subscribe buttons and even hitting those bell icons. Because that is one of the things that helps us gain a little bit more traction here on the YouTubes. So I appreciate you considering doing that. And if you do, well, we'll hope to continue seeing you right here on the Flipside. So thank you for joining us here today. We are going to be talking about a board game. Now, the board game today that we're going to be talking about is this one right here. This is called French Quarter. This is what we call a roll and write, and you'll understand what that means probably closer to the end of that if you don't know what that means right now. But basically, what you're going to be doing is we're going to be rolling dice over the course of the game, and then we're going to be using the results of those dice to carry out different things on a piece of paper with either a pen or a pencil or whatever you would like to do, use rather. And we're going to be gallivanting around the French Quarter in New Orleans. So this is basically a traveling themed game where you're going to be trying to go and find or trying to go and visit as many different tourist attractions in the French Quarter in New Orleans by best utilizing the results of the dice that you're able to draft during one of the phases of the game. And as you're doing that, you're going to be scoring points for this, scoring points for that, and scoring points for how many performers you see, scoring points for how many different the courtyards that you visit. There's a number of different ways to score points in this game, and we'll try to explain as much of that as we possibly can. But generally speaking, the game will last for 8 rounds. And at the end of the 8 rounds, whoever has the most points after we tabulate everything up is the winner. That's the short, quick, and dirty of what French Quarter is all about. This is put out by 25th Century Games, and the designers are Matt Riddle, Ben Pinchback, and Adam Hill. Now, Matt Riddle and Ben Pinchback, you might recognize. I personally have never heard of Adam Hill, but that doesn't matter. They have collaborated on this one, and we'll get to what I think about it here in a little bit. But first of all, let's say hi to a few people. Matthew Vincent, hello, hello. Steph is here. So good to see you guys. Thank you for being here. We certainly appreciate you guys joining us. Now, first things first, I mentioned that you're writing things down on a piece of paper. That's part of a roll and write thing. And I just wanted to show right off the bat that each person is going to have two sheets, one of each of these. You have a scoring sheet basically on this side, and then you have your actual map of the French Quarter that you're going to be traveling around on this one. You'll need both of them throughout the course of the game. This is not where you need one or the other. You need both of them because you'll be tracking all of a bunch of different things on this sheet, and this is going to be your scoring sheet at the end of the round or at the end of the game. This one is going to be basically where you are going to be keeping track of where you are throughout the course of the game, and where you're going to be able to map out different locations and how you're going to be able to use your movement points to move around the board, where you're going to end up and all that other kind of stuff. So you need both of them. But as you can see, pretty thick pads that it comes with. And on top of that, these are double-sided. So you have the same thing on one side, same thing on the other. So each sheet gets you 2 games, or rather, enough sheets for 2 games with each leaf. So that's a pretty cool thing. I just wanted to show that because the game comes with more than enough. More than enough. All right, so French Quarter. Let's go over to the Geek, and we will take a look at some of the other things on the Geek. I do like utilizing the Geek. I like making sure people understand that BoardGameGeek.com is probably one of the best resources that you can have at your disposal if you're in the board gaming hobby, or if you are thinking about jumping into the board game hobby. This is a great resource website for you to use. It's absolutely free to use. They do have a donation drive every year towards the end of the year. Usually it's in December and January, I believe, where you can donate to it if you want to, but you don't have to. Now, if you don't donate to it, you'll have ads that are going around, but they're usually at the top and on the sides. They're not usually in between, but you know, if ads bother you, then ads bother you, and you can donate at a certain level, and that will allow you to turn off those ads. So anyway, Board Game Geek is where we're going to be going. Let me go ahead and pull that up. Let me pull up French Quarter before we actually switch that over. Oh, I didn't mention that. 2024 is actually, when I said new, I meant it. So there is that. Let me go ahead and get my... I should have done this, and I forgot to. Boom, boom, boom. So we're going to go here, and we need to window, yes. Configure, no, not control center, no. There we go. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at Board Game Geek here. So as we can see, French Quarter, it does already have a 7.4 rating, and that is out of 256 ratings. Has 89 comments, so you can go and check that out as well. The community here at Board Game Geek has said that it is a 2.25 rating out of 5 for complexity. So this is about a middle of the road, which we'll talk about later, but this is a little bit heavier than most of your roll and writes. There you see all the designers. Marley's Barons and Snow Conrad are the artists. Publishers are Motor City Gameworks or MCG and 25th Century Games. So that's that. Now, I don't own the rights to any of these, so that's just giving you an idea of some of the components that you can go through. So you can check that out if you want to on the Geek as well. But a lot of cool stuff here, and you can also go down and see that there are people that are posting reviews and all of that kind of stuff. It also has this where you can look at some other games that you might like if you like French Quarters. So again, just trying to show off that this is a great little tool for people who are in the hobby or are looking to get into the hobby. So that is that. Let me get back here and so now what we're going to do is see, Matthew Vincent, always laminate pads except with games like Cartographers, as you need to draw. How do you rank the 4 games in this series? Lamination is the best way to go. That's interesting. I can see where you guys are thinking that, where lamination is the best way to go. I can definitely see that, especially if you're playing on, for example, a game mat, a play mat. You know, the neoprene usually isn't very forgiving, or rather you could say it's too forgiving, with being able to write things on it, especially with a pen or a pencil. And sometimes you might pop through the paper and onto the game mat underneath if you're not careful. So in this particular case, I would probably agree with the whole lamination idea, but you don't have to. They are good, and you know, they give you more than enough, and so. With lamination, I'm usually concerned with longevity. With the sizes of these 2 pads, there's a lot of games here. But there's also the functionality of not poking through the paper and that kind of thing. If you're playing on a playmat, that would be rectified by laminating. So I definitely can see it. So answer that question. That's pretty cool. Now, as far as the only other game in this series that I'm aware of is Detroit. Motor City. Sorry, it's called Motor City, and I haven't actually played that one yet. Man, I want to, because I think I'll like that theme a little bit better than this one. I'm not a huge French Quarter person, but we'll get to that in a little bit later. But Motor City is one that I haven't played yet. I do have it. It's over there on the shelf. I just haven't played it yet. So I can't really speak to the other games in the series. I can only, so far I've only played this one. Let's see here. Okay, so with that being said, let's go ahead and talk about how the game plays. All right, so the game basically has 4 phases. The game will have 4 phases. The first phase is the planning phase, and you have a travel phase right after that. Then you have a second line phase where you're going to be traveling throughout the city, and then there is a cleanup phase where you're going to make some basic adjustments to the play area, and then you'll move right back into the planning phase. I did mention earlier that the game lasts for 8 rounds. And that's tracked on your sheet, and I'll show you that in just a few moments. You'll go through each of those 4 phases. You'll go through each of those 4 phases, and then you'll go on to the next round, and you'll do that 8 times. And whoever has the most points at the end of the game is the winner. So there is that. Chris, Chasing Meeples, is here. Hello. Good to see you. Thank you for being here. We appreciate you. All right, so we're going to go down to the table here and be able to show off the actual game itself. That's one of the coolest things about it. I think well, I wouldn't say that. That was a little bit of a misspeak. Each of the card decks are linen finished, so that's pretty cool. And good cardstock as well. There are a little bit of extra things out here that you might not use in a regular game. The Vacation deck is a deck that is kind of an expansion, a little mini expansion that you can use. And basically what it does is it'll give you personal goals that you can shoot for throughout the course of the game. So you can go into the game with a historic sites goal where you're going to want to map all 4 of these buildings. And if you do that, well, then you'll get 8 points at the end of the game. So you could go in there as a fashion outing or family vacation where you're going to go to these different things, a bachelor party, escapade. So you kind of get the idea. These are just thematic personal bonus points that you can score throughout the course of the game. The way you use this expansion is you simply just give the deck a shuffle. There's 12 cards here, and you deal 1 out to each player, and that gives them their personal goal. I guess you could, if you wanted to, deal 2 out to everybody, and then they can choose 1, but you basically just deal 1 out. The Mayor deck is also another variant that you can use where she is going to be, or he, I guess, would be putting out these roadblock markers because she's holding a personal invite-only party on that street, and you can't move on that street whenever those kinds of cards come up. It also will have different priorities that the mayor is going to choose. So, for example, this one wouldn't have a lane closure, but this one would have a lane closure. So she would cut, or he would shut down Charter Street. Nobody would be able to move on Charter Street during that course. This round, it would be Royal Street. And any of the ones that have a street closure are marked by the little mayor symbol down at the bottom. So you get the idea what the mayor variant does. You also use this during your single player games as well. So that's a pretty cool thing. That's included in the base game. This is a little mini expansion that I believe does not come in the regular box, but at least mine didn't. This was sent extra. The game also comes with these 6 decks. So you have a walking deck, a carriage deck, a taxi deck, a streetcar deck, a riverboat deck, and a socialized deck. And they will basically do a couple of different things for you. First of all, they're going to give certain actions that you'll be able to mark on your sheets, usually just this one. But it's also going to give you how many spaces you're going to be able to move on your map space. And then the dice that are connected to it are going to basically give you a number that you're going to be able to map the different buildings on your map over here. So basically you're taking note of where they are and so forth and so on. We'll talk about mapping later on as well. You will notice that some decks, for example these three, allow you to move a certain number of spaces. So this one is anywhere from 1 or 2, 1 or 3, or 1 to 4. And this is 1, 2, 3, so it could be 1, 2, or 3 spaces. But these decks, socializes usually only move 1 space because you're socializing as you're walking around. You're not really moving very fast. You're not trying to get from point A to point B. It's all about the journey. These two, however, the streetcar and the riverboat, usually allow you to move to a specific location. With the streetcar, it's moved to any space on Dauphin Street. And then the riverboat is to move to any space on Decatur Street or North Front Street. All right, so Decatur Street is right here along your map. North Front Street is right here. And then Dauphin Street is up here at the top. And whenever it says that you can move to any location on that street, you're talking about any of the locations that on either side of that street. So that is something that you need to understand. We're going to talk to some of the people here in the group here. The games are Fleet the Dice Game, Three Sisters, Motor City, and French Quarter. I have heard of Fleet the Dice Game. I may have even played that. It's been a while though. I have not played Three Sisters or Motor City. I have only played French Quarter. So I appreciate you clarifying that, Jeff. But my original statement stands. The only one that I played out of those 4 games is French Quarter. I may have played Fleet the Dice Game, but I honestly doubt it. But the name is very familiar to me. But I've not played Three Sisters or Motor City. Fleet, Three Sisters, Motor City, etc. all seem good. All got decent reviews. There you go. I think better than early basic roll and writes. Okay. I have played Fleet. That one was good, Kabuki Kid said. All right, cool. All right. Afternoon, everyone. Hello, Karen. Good to see you. Thank you for being here. And Kabuki Kid, thank you. I didn't say hi to you. Thank you for being here as well, madam. All right. So, going back down to the table here. As I said earlier, we do have 4 phases in the game. The planning phase is just where the person who is the first player, the guy who has the fleur-de-lis, will be able to, first of all, turn over the top card of every deck, and they're going to roll the dice to determine what values are going to be on each of the decks. The fleur-de-lis are, as you can see, they are a 1. And then, you know, the 6s are on the other side, so that's how we know that the fleur-de-lis is the 1. So here we have walk. You can use a shopping action, and you can move 1 to 2 spaces. 2 people will be able to choose this, or 1 person can choose both of them. It just depends on how the dice are drafted during the travel phase. Then the carriage will give you 2 actions here, and artwork and or artists, performers, and umbrellas. This is a kind of a partying action, moving 1 to 4. Here you have umbrellas and shopping. Here you have partying and shopping, partying and food. So those are some of the different things that are available here. I am going to be using my phone as a camera here in just a minute so that you guys can get a better look at some of this stuff when we need to. So do rest assured with that. Let me go ahead and add that to, there we go. The little bling bling shows that we are ready to go. And so we'll do that in just a second. Is it okay if it is from me? What about me? No hi? Man, I'm always picked last. Eric, I know you're here, and you know I know you're here. So yes. Hello, Eric. I even used your real name, Eric. I called you by name, sir. All right, here we go. So in the planning phase, the first player flips over the cards, rolls the dice, and that's the planning phase. In the travel phase, each player, starting with the first player, is going to be able to draft one die from those that are proffered. And then in clockwise order, we continue picking one die until all players have picked 2 dice, and then that's going to leave 1 left over, basically. You'll basically be able to carry out 4 actions after we've all picked 2 dice. We will then all be able to basically repeat this until I'm sorry, I'm losing track of my focus. So let me start that over again. In the travel phase, we are going to pick a die. When you pick a die, that's where I messed up. When you pick a die, you're going to choose it, and then you're going to carry out all of the things that you do there. Okay, so what are the different things that you do? The first thing here is a card action. So it will allow you to carry out whatever action this is, and then you go on to the movement action, which is this right down here. Then you will go to a building action, which happens on the phase here, and then you will go to a map action, and we'll talk about each of those in order. All right, so let me go over to my handy dandy phone camera here. All right, so let's just say, now I chose purple, which is the walk, which gives me a shopping action, okay? That's what that little credit card symbol in the middle of the card means. So what I would do is I would come down here to my score sheet, and I would look at Conti Street because that's where that shopping icon is, and I would be able to mark off the first, since there's only 1 credit card action on that card, I would be able to mark the first square in this particular case on my row. Bling, 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 just like that. Now, when I get over to these circle icons, because I'm taking more shopping actions, I can either choose to do one of these up here, which will give me certain things throughout the course of the game, or when I come to a situation like this one right here, I can either choose to bump up my scoring multiplier, which will be used at the end of the game, or I can come up here and do one of these things, which will give me an in-game bonus. Okay, so as I'm going along this track here, it's going to give me choices at certain points to bump up over here or to take one of these in-game bonuses, and so forth and so on. All right, so that's what a shopping action will do for you. So on my action, let's just say on this thing, I went ahead and picked my 1 purple die, and I can move 1 to 2 spaces. I went ahead and marked this one right here, bling, bling, bling. Of course, why would my pen actually work? There we go. All right, so I marked that off right there, just like that. And now I can do my movement, which is going to be move 1 to 2 spaces. And so I come over here, and movement works in such a way that each one of these squares equals 1 space moved. So I can move orthogonally 1, 2, or I can move orthogonally 1, 2, 1, 2. I could also go 1, 2 like this as well. 1, 2. It's orthogonal movement, not diagonal. So let's say that I'm gonna go ahead and let's see here. I'm gonna go 1, 2, just like this, and come over to the Rue the Day Tavern. And Rue the Day Tavern shows that there are, first of all, an umbrella action and another shopping action. So what I can do at this point is, since I went to this action using my movement, I can do 1 umbrella movement, which happens over here on my paper, and I just mark it by an X. And you always go in rows like this. Whenever you get one row filled in, you're going to be able to use that star. That star means that you can fill in any place on your sheet that you want to. But you have to get that third umbrella first, and then you're going to come down here, get another third, and get another star, and so forth and so on. So that's my umbrella action that I get from the building. And then I'm also going to get another shopping action, which is going to be this little guy right here. So I'll fill that in first, and then I can choose one of these things up here. Generally speaking, I'm just going to go ahead and choose this. So I'm going to be able to fill that in, and I can use a W instead of a number once whenever I am mapping a building. Then I can come to a map action. Map action is where we look at the die that we rolled, so it was a 1, and we can put that number in the space that we have right here. So we're going to put a number 1 like so. Now what does that do? Well, that basically maps that building. So if at the end of the game I'm scoring these different streets, this is going to be a map location. In subsequent turns, the buildings around it that are orthogonal can only have a 1 or a 2 adjacent to it. So these buildings here will only be able to be a 1 or a 2 later on. So whenever you map a building, you are kind of setting a course in action for you to how easy or how hard it's going to be to map buildings later on. And we'll talk about why mapping buildings is important later. So going back up top a little bit, for just a little bit at least, I do want to go ahead. So I am here at the Rue the Day Tavern. Now, going in clockwise formation, they are going to choose to do something as well. Let's see here. This opponent is going to choose to, they are also going to choose purple. They're going to go 1 or 2, but they also get to, first of all, do their shopping action. Then they're going to move 1 or 2, and we're going to go 1, 2 like this down here. And there is no building action here, but the building action is if you have whatever building that you have mapped here, whatever number you have here, plus another one will equal points at the end of the game, which is one of the reasons why we went ahead and did this, because we are going to map this building with a 4, because that's what the number is on the die. And now this building plus whenever we, for example, if we come back up here and come to this gift shop and we map it with another number up here, we'll be able to take that number and get victory points for it at the end of the game. So that's a pretty cool thing. So that's what we did here, and their turn is over. Now we come over here, and they're going to choose to, we're going to go ahead and go with the 5 here, and they're going to, first of all, get an umbrella, and then they're also going to do a St. Peter Street action, which is just marking in this square right here to begin with. All of the first squares don't really have any choices. You just get to start down that track. And that is the card here. Then they're also going to be able to move 1 to 3 spaces. Let's see here. So I think we're just going to go with, I think we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to go 1, 2 like this, go down here to the gift shop, and we're going to put a 5 in there because that's what that map is, and that will be it for them. Then I come back, and now I only have these choices to go for. And I'm going to be able to move 4 spaces possibly. 1 to 4, I can move anywhere to anywhere on Dauphin Street or Decatur and North Front Street, or I can just move 1 space, but I get those 2 actions. Let's see here. Well, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose the taxi here, and the taxi is going to be a 5, so I'm going to go ahead and take that. I get to move 1 to 4 spaces. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 to the Arsenal Courtyard, and we're going to mark this little circle here. And this circle is actually pretty cool. I'm going to go back to my phone so that you can see what it's doing. And so there are a bunch of different courtyards that you can visit during the course of the game. And depending on how many of those you actually map, it'll give you 2, 6, 12, or 20 points at the end of the game. So that's one of the reasons why I chose to go there, because we are going to go there and we are going to go ahead and map it with that 5. So we go ahead and do that right there, and we're good to go for my second turn. Then we'll go back up top so that we can have these other people go. Let's see, move to any street on Dauphin Street. That's up here at the top. That might be a pretty good one. We're going to go ahead and choose that because we can go to any street up here on Dauphin Street, any location on these two building rows. So we're going to go ahead and go right up here to this other gift shop and mark a 6 there, because now that's going to be 10 points at the end of the game for us. That's that worked out well. But they also get to mark an umbrella right here, and they also get to do a shopping action right here, which is this one, which again, we're going to take this up here, which will give us the ability to mark a W instead of a number, because maybe we really want to map a specific building, but maybe the other maps of the buildings around it aren't going to allow you to do it. So you can use that ability instead and put a W down there instead of a number. You still get to map it, but it can kind of break that number mapping rule as you go. Now, at the for this person here, this is now going to be the last action of this round. So they can choose with the riverboat, or they can choose a socialize. Now, the reason the socialize action might be interesting for them is because, and I forgot to do this, at the beginning of the game, we were supposed to roll a die and determine where the second line starts. So it would have started on a 2. We will put this back to a 5, which was what it was. The 2 on our sheets would have been circled just like this. And the 2 is the same place on all of them. So that's where the second line starts. And we're going to explain that in just a minute, because this person is going to take that, and we're going to move exactly 1 space. But we get to do a party action first. So that party action is just marking that in right there. And then we'll also be able to do a food action, which is marking in the first place up here on Decatur Street. And now we'll be able to move exactly 1 space. I think we'll move 1 space up to Joe's Daiquiris and Fried Chicken. And we'll go ahead and... we would like to map it, but we can't. Oh, no. We super would like to map it, but that's all right. We won't map it this time, but if we go here, we will get another food action, which allows us to come up here like so. And then it says map any number to a building on Decatur Street. All right, well, we're not on Decatur Street, so we can't do that just yet. But we do have that available to us now, so we can possibly use that later on. Now, since this person grabbed the socialize or chose the socialize action, they are going to be able to determine in which direction the second line begins, and they will be able to they'll choose a direction, basically north, south, east, or west, and from the 2, where the second line starts, that's where the second line is going to start. That line is going to determine a couple of things, and what that does is it will help us score points for buildings that we have mapped on the second line route, as we go through the course of the game. And whoever takes this every round determines the direction in which that second line will go. It'll always be in an orthogonal manner, though, because the second line will be drawn, let's just say for right now, that they want it to go down St. Louis Street. So that second line is going to start from here and go down here, just like that. And so everybody on their map would draw from one intersection where the 2 is all the way down to the next intersection on St. Louis Street, because that's what this player determined they wanted to do. Now, the second line phase then allows them to extend that second line in a direction. Then all players mark 1 box on the second line track for every mapped building that touches the second line on their own map. So if we come over here back with my phone, we'll be able to see that second line space here. Okay, so first of all, for every building that you have mapped on the second line route, you're going to be able to mark off this many, 1 box for each one. So right now, I don't have any, and neither does anybody else have anything. So that wouldn't actually mark anything off. But let's say that I had 3 to mark off. I would be able to go 1, 2, 3. The next turn, the second line gets added, and now I have, I don't know, 5 buildings. So then I'd be able to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Every one of these that I get into, I get to do another umbrella action over here, and at the end of the game, every box that I do here is a point at the end of the game, which is pretty huge. Pretty stinking huge indeed. But that's why the second line is important. So let's go back. All right, so now that the round is over, the first player passes the marker to the left. So that means this person's going to be the player. And then all dice return to the pool. All right. New cards are chosen. And we're just going to do this for right now. For each of them. Oops. All right. If you have more room, of course, you're going to be able to just have a discard pile, and you won't have to do this, but, you know, it is what it is. And now that we have new things for everybody, the first player would roll the dice. Green, blue, yellow, red, pink, and 2 purples. And then this person would start and it would continue. All right, so that gives you a basic, the text on the sheet is so small. You are absolutely correct, Eric. We will get to that. But that gives you a basic idea of how each round is going to work out over the course of the game. So one thing that I want to do first before we move on is that I want to point some stuff out to you based on the actual score sheet here. All right. Now, we already talked about the multipliers on this side. Now, what do the multipliers, what are those for? Well, what that means is that notice that they are connected to a street. So you have Decatur Street multipliers, you have St. Peter Street multipliers, Conti Street multipliers, St. Anne, and Bourbon Street. These are all different multipliers for these specific streets. And they're going to multiply for a number of points based on how many buildings you have mapped on that street. So if you have, for example, all 3 of these marked by the end of the game, and so your multiplier is ×3, and you have 4 buildings on Decatur Street that are mapped, that means that you're going to be able to score 12 points for your Decatur Street buildings at the end of the game. And they're marked right down here for buildings. Okay, so that's what the multipliers are for. Performers down here at the bottom. you have the points that you'll be able to get for each of the different sets. It's a little bit confusing, not really though, but there's one set of performers on the top and then there's another set of performers on the bottom. So for every one that you mark in on the top, you're going to get that many points. So if I got 6 marked in on the top, then I get 14 points. Okay. If I get 2 more marked on the bottom, then I'll get 1 more point. All right. So the top row of performers and the second row of performers are scored independently. So if you can get a lot of points just by trying to hit all the performers a couple of times each, but that's really kind of up to you. Additionally, when you're going through and marking performer things, you can also mark down here, and there's a possibility for you to get more points down here as well. So your performer points will be all of the points that you get from all of these guys, plus any points that you get from down here as well. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. Now, you'll also see that you're going to be able to score some points for shopping, mysticism, partying, second line, buildings, performers, culture, and food. So there are other ways to score points up here as well. And you'll add all of that together as well and take it down there. The reason I wanted to point that out is because when you are really marking a lot of things over here, it doesn't really mean as much as you think it might mean, because being able to mark a lot of stuff here only means that you'll be able to get a higher multiplier over here. But if you're not mapping buildings on St. Peter Street, it doesn't matter how high your multiplier is. So that's an important thing to realize when you're playing the game. These two are really not interchangeable, but they work off of each other. So you're going to be able to do some of these actions and get a lot of things marked off here, but and you might even be mapping a lot of buildings over here on Conti Street. But if you're not choosing to do the multipliers, then all of the buildings that you have mapped over here aren't going to score you hardly any points, because they won't score you any points unless you have at least this multiplier checked off. So that's something to keep abreast of during the course of the game. Getting umbrellas is really cool because that extra star that it gives you for filling in 3 things, for filling in 3 umbrella actions, is really useful because you might not be able to pick the card that you want. That will allow you to choose one of these things, or maybe that last performer that you wanted to get. But if you get another umbrella action and that unleashes a star symbol, that star can be used anywhere you want to on the board, on the paper. So that's a cool thing to keep in mind as you're going through there. So let's go ahead. That's generally speaking what you're talking about as far as how to play the game. It is not one of those games that is super intuitive on the get-go about how it works. You really kind of have to play through it, which is why I took the time to really kind of go through an entire round to really kind of grasp what you need to do in order to score points at the end of the game. Most things will score you some points, but you really have to take advantage of certain things at crucial points in the game to really score big points. For example, that second player over there was able to secure 10 points for themselves right off the bat in just one round. That was one of those kind of perfect storm situations where it just worked out to be the best thing for them to do at that point, and they were able to do it with the movement. It's one of the ways, you know, my experience with roll and writes in the past have been, generally speaking, they've been pretty cut and dry. I need to do this to score these points. I need to do this to score those points. I need to do this to score that points. This one is a little bit different because it adds almost another step in there. I need to do this, this, and this in order to score those points. I need to do this, 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 and probably this to really score points on this over here. And that is why I think I feel like the complexity level for this roll and write is a little bit higher than other roll and writes that I've played. Now, you know, there are a number of different kinds of flip and writes or roll and writes, and their complexity levels, I guess, depending on the person, can really be in a number of different areas. This one for me, and also for Jess, and also to some people, because I took this up to Comic-Con, and I wanted to see how people experienced it and see what they thought about it. And everybody that I've talked to before said that this is a more crunchy, a more complex roll and write. And generally speaking, everybody that I've talked to so far has really enjoyed it. They've really liked it. Now, but they did provide that caveat that it's a lot crunchier than I'm used to for roll and writes. So if that appeals to you, that's going to be something that you'll be able to latch on to. I will say for Jess, this is probably more, I don't want to use the word fiddly because fiddly has a very negative connotation to it. But what I mean by that is, you know, there's so many different, okay, I need to do this so I can do this over here, and I need to do that so I can do this over here, and so I need to do this to do that over there. That was a little bit too much for her. And frankly, it was really at the upper echelon of what I'm willing to go through as far as a roll and write is concerned. Usually for me, a roll and write has been like a super chill, super just kind of relaxed type of game. It's a palate cleanser. This doesn't feel like a palate cleanser. I mean, I guess where I could see where it would be for some people, but for me, this feels like a game. This feels like something that I'm going to have to put some thought into as I'm playing it. This isn't like, you know, a pub game or anything like that. This is something where I'm going to have to think about what I'm doing. And that's been a little bit of a difference for me between this one and other roll and writes. So I guess take that as a caveat, because I'm not a huge roll and write fan. It's not like I go out searching for the roll and writes because I need to play the new one. You know, I'm not like that. So maybe I'm not the right person for this game. But before you jump on that, I did enjoy it. Okay? I did enjoy the game. I didn't dislike it. The solo mode is also a really fun game. I just don't know if I want to. I just don't know if I want to put this much thought into a roll and write. This is kind of board game level thought in a roll and write game, which isn't a bad thing. Don't get me wrong. I just don't know that I want to do a roll. Maybe I'd rather play a board game and put the same level of thought into that board game as I would this roll and write. So again, I'm not saying this is bad. Okay, I'm just saying that it took me by surprise, because I was expecting something else when I saw roll and write on it, and I got something a lot beefier than what I was expecting. Whoa, drama meantime. What? Drama mean? Oh yeah, I got you. Okay, I get you. 25th Century has been swinging for the fences lately. All of their stuff looks so good. Even if the mechanisms don't sound interesting, they look snazzy. You are absolutely correct, Ryan. And that's one of the things that I do like about what 25th Century has been doing. They've been putting a lot of thought and process and money into making their games look really good. And I'm an aesthetic gamer, and that's what I'm looking for. So I totally agree with that sentiment, Ryan. Thank you for putting that up. Yeah, like mold, I'm always lingering. Laminate and dry marker looking pretty good now. Yeah, I know. I always laminate as part of my unboxing ritual. Any expendable piece of paper that comes in the game gets the treatment. Wow. Dude, okay, I just want to say, look, That's a lot of laminating. And I get it that you're just going to laminate one and then use it to crap and then laminate another one. But there's a lot of lamination in this. It's a lot of stuff. So if you have your own little Cricut machine or laminating machine or whatever it is, fine and dandy. I totally agree with you. I think it's a great idea. But if you don't, there's plenty of resources here for you to use. They weren't stingy on you. I don't know how many pages this is, but there's a lot here. That's all I'm saying. That's why I was pointing out those things. But I totally get what you're saying. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying that if you don't have your own laminating machine and you don't want to spend a fortune at Office Max, there's plenty of stuff in here. Rotocam. Feel like I'm watching Cops. Bad boys, what you want to do. All right. Like Crunchyroll and Rights. Eric, you asked about the vacation cards. I did talk about these earlier, so I'll just go ahead and show these real quick on as you guys so love to call it Rotocam. So the vacation cards are basically just what do you call them? Personal goals, private goals that you will have at the beginning of the game that you can shoot for, and they are all worth 8 points at the end of the game. So if you get the family vacation card, you are going to want to try to map Matt's Country Boil, Fat Tuesday Gift Shop, Crown Praline Company, and Riverwalk Shopping and Aquarium. If you can get those 4 buildings mapped, then you will score 8 points at the end of the game for you. So it's just another way for you to kind of gain some points that other people don't know exactly what you're trying to do when you're going for those different things. And there are 12 of these cards in the game. You basically just shuffle them and hand one out to every player. You could, I guess, hand 2 out to every player and then have them pick one. But those are the vacation cards. All right. So that is basically that in a nutshell. Help, I'm in a nutshell. Final thoughts for the game. We've already kind of been talking about my final thoughts. Bad games. What you gonna do? I know you wipe them and reuse, Eric. I'm not dumb. I know you wipe and reuse. I know that. But what I'm saying is that even if you're using dry erase markers are notorious for, over the course of time, leaving residue. And at some point, it's going to look nasty and you're not going to be able to do all of this stuff. So you're going to have to laminate another page. And once that one runs out, you're going to have to laminate another page. I get what you're saying. I do. But even with dry erase markers, they leave residue. And I was a teacher, bro. I know what dry erase markers do. So cleaning my dry erase board was something I had to do over and over and over again, because if I kind of let my guard down, the board got really nasty, and then it became a real chore to do. So I get what you're saying. Wash and reuse. I totally get it. I understand. But all I'm saying is you don't have to do that. There are plenty of these things in here. Okay. Windex if you get residue. Yep, I know. Max Country Boil. Sounds like something that needs to be lanced and drained. That's disgusting, Kabuki Kid. One thing I do want to mention is that these are not, I don't believe these are real places. These are very close approximations of what all of those places have. Well, hi, Strider. Strider just decided to lay his entire head on my foot. So they're close approximations of the actual names of the places within New Orleans. I'm sure there are some, intellectual property reasons why they could not use the actual names of the places that are in the French Quarter, but that's why that is. We've already been kind of talking about some of my final thoughts. One of the other final thoughts, so let's go to my pros and cons real quick, okay? Pros and cons. First of all, first pro is component quality. And we already kind of mentioned this earlier with what Ryan said with 25th Century really swinging for the fences with each of their games as far as component quality, how it looks, and graphic design. He absolutely correct. 25th Century has really been trying to knock it out of the park with their component qualities. They have been very useful in the amount of space that their games take. Now, with that being said, French Quarter is a little bit of an exception to that because this is the box that it comes in. Most of the cards and all of the dice fit right in here. And then the only thing that requires a box this big are the mats. This is the only thing that requires the box this big. This, and then of course the rule book is also that same size. So I think they... I'm not. I am definitely not going to say they could have made these smaller, because if they would have made these smaller, the print, which we're going to get to in a little bit, you'd have to have a neutron microscope probably, or something, electron microscope. There you go, neutron. What am I thinking? Anyway, you kind of get the idea. But generally speaking, they're doing well with their components. They're doing well with the boxes that they're shipping the components to you in. They're doing a lot of really good stuff, and component quality for this is really top notch. The paper that is used, and this is going to be another feather in the cap of all of you laminator patriots. The paper does seem to be pretty thin. The pencils and the pens, if you're using a playmat, they punch through pretty easy. Now that could just be me, but if you have a lighter touch when you're writing and all of that kind of stuff, you might not have a problem with it. However, I did. I can't tell you how many times I've poked through these pages, but that's really the only downstroke on the component quality issue. Everything else is top notch. Everything else is top notch, from the dice that they used to the cards with their linen finish, and pretty cool cardstock to the little road blockage pieces that come in here, and each of the little pieces that make up your people on your map. Everything is great, top notch. So component quality is a definite pro for me. The second pro for me is going to be the gameplay. The gameplay is not difficult at all. It is involved though, and I like that pairing. It's not difficult, but it is involved. You do have to kind of pay attention to what you're doing. You definitely have to know what you're wanting to do and the best way to do it. And that's just not probably going to happen on your very first game. You're going to have to play a few games to really kind of have a good grasp on what you really should do to score the most points and how you're going to be able to get there. But largely, a lot of those things are going to be based around what dice you draft during the travel phase. And that is going to be my third pro. I love the dice drafting in this. This is not a roll and move, roll and write. It kind of feels like it, but it's not, because you can choose based on the color dice that you're going to choose, how far you're going to be able to move or where you can move to. The numbers on the dice are only determining what number you're going to have to use to map the building that you're at, which does have a lot of play into the rest of the game, because some of those numbers are going to be easier to map the buildings around than others. If you map something with a 1, you can only map a 1 or a 2. But if you map something with a 4, you can map with a 3, a 4, or a 5 around it. So I really like the mapping section, the mapping action rather, because that entered into another level, so to speak, of thought processes that had to go on while you're playing this game, because it's going to determine not only what die you're going to choose or what value you're going to choose, but you're also going to have to be careful with where you're moving and how far you're able to move with and still be able to map with that die. I really enjoy the mechanisms here. It's very simple as far as what you're doing, but how everything comes together is where the complexity really kind of comes in. But it's not overwhelmingly complex. It's just more complex than your regular roll and writes. So, so far we've got component quality is great. We've got super neat mechanisms. I like gameplay a lot. And the third is picking out specifically the dice drafting mechanism. I really enjoyed that a lot. Fourth pro is that you will probably score many more points than you were expecting to score, because there's so many different ways to score points in the game. And you might be scoring points and you don't even realize that you are. At some points, at least early on in your experiences with it. And I like it when games do that, because sometimes you have some people that are playing the game and they have this really big turn, which still doesn't only takes a few seconds to actually carry out. There's not a lot of downtime in the game at all. And then you do your turn and you're like, that seemed kind of boring and stupid compared to Jimmy Joe Bob's turn. He did a lot of stuff and it seemed like he was having a lot of fun. Yeah, you can probably feel that way, but at the end of the day, you're probably still scoring some points, and you're still going to give Billy Joe Bob a run for his money if you continue to just kind of churn along and do things that you know are going to get you points. I cannot, while we're on that point, I cannot express enough how important it is to map buildings, because but not just map buildings, but also get those multipliers up. I spent some time talking about that because I really do feel like it's one of the things that you might not make that connection with very quickly. You know, you might be marking off a whole lot of spaces on Decatur Street and St. Peter Street and Connie Street, but if you're not getting and you know, that might be translating over to a lot of high multipliers for those streets. But if you're not mapping buildings on those streets, they won't do you very much good. They'll do you some good, because you might have only 2 buildings over there, and instead of just getting 2 points, you'll get 6. But Billy Joe Bob might have got, you know, 6 buildings mapped on Decatur Street, and he got a multiplier of 3. He's going to get 18 points. So you get the idea. It might be hard to make that connection your first few things. But anyway, I digress a little bit. Cons for the game. And here's where we're going to talk about something that was already brought up in the chat. The type, the font on these is, oh my goodness, young man. Strider. Shush. Sorry. Anyway, that's just how things go here. My con. The font on these papers is small. Super small. Now, you young bucks out there might not have any problem at all. Us old men, I can say that. I'm 50 now. I had trouble with it. I really did. And Jess's eyesight is kind of the same way. She struggled with it as well. I think her eyesight in some ways is much worse than mine, even with glasses. Yeah, the type is super small on these papers, and that's a con for me because I really have to kind of bend over to get a clear view of whatever there. I can't just see, okay, well, what does that say? I have to kind of squint at it, and if you have to squint at it from a normal distance, I'm not talking about trying to read something on the other side of the room, but if it's right in front of you and you have trouble reading it, it's pretty small. But it is what it is. I don't think it's that huge of a defamation of the game. I don't think it is at all. because while the type is small, it isn't too small. Too small means that even if I'm getting close, I still have a trouble reading it. It isn't that way. I do wish, and this is on the same con, this is in another con, I do wish that the street names were slightly larger. The street names are slightly larger because I've been to the French Quarter. I don't know my way around the French Quarter. I know my way around Wenatchee pretty well. Do I know all of the street names? No. I know where the corner, I know those streets where the Safeway is on the corner, you know, that kind of stuff. I know how to, I could tell you how to get to Fred Meyer's, but using street names, probably not. So I would have liked using bigger street names so that it just pops a little bit more on this. But again, it's all kind of the same con. I just wish that the fonts they had used, the size of the fonts would have been a little bit bigger, but take that for what it's worth. So mapping has a welcome to vibe. Yes, that is correct, Eric. Thank you for that. King Kong Rider Sam. Sam in a black shirt is always amusing how he blends into the chair. I know, right? I mean, it's like, indeed you are powerful. Yeah, no, I'm just saying. Not just small, but small. Yes, that's correct. Maybe photocopy in a large, then laminate, and maybe fold it into the box. Or cut in halves. Oh, I can see it well enough and my eyes are broken too. Well, there you have it. See, that's why it's a small con, because what I think is small, what Eric thinks is small, might not be small for everybody else. So there you have it. Or isopropyl alcohol, I think works. Oh, that's talking about the dry erase stuff. Yep, you're correct. There is such a thing as a neutron microscope. Isn't it like, isn't a neutron microscope like bigger? Or is an electron microscope bigger? I don't know. Anyway, I didn't mean to say neutron. I meant to say electron. That's why. Jimmy Joe Bob, he always beats me. Yep. Oh no, Billy Joe Bob is there too? Yes, they're both pretty good gamers, especially about talking about Nolans. You need a Hello Kitty chair. No, I do not. We are old. We are old. Yes, we are. I know. I understand. But rating for the game. All right. On the front end, I'm going to give this a super solid 1 thumb up. It surprised me at how thinky and crunchy it was. I definitely wasn't expecting it. So if that strikes your fancy, I think it could easily be 2 thumbs up for you. But for me, it's only 1 thumb up because I don't know that I'll want to come back to this very often. I think I will enjoy my plays for this in the future. If somebody wants to learn how to play, I'll happily sit down and teach them how to play and play with them. This is not a game where I'm just going to, kind of turn my nose up to it and never play this game again. That's not how it is. It's not my kind of roll and write because it is a lot crunchier than I like the roll and writes to be. But I still enjoyed myself. And it still gets 1 thumb up. If the text had been larger, if maybe these were dry erase boards instead of paper, those kinds of things, it could probably have been a 2 thumb up type of game. But because it's a little crunchier than I want it to be, and because of, almost in spite of the great component quality of the game, the paper things and how easily I punch through it on some, I just need to play the game on hard surfaces, I guess. But I like playmats, man. Anyway, I think this could easily be a 2 thumbs up kind of game for a lot of people out there. And that's one of the reasons why I'm not going to really poo-poo it too much, because I did enjoy the game a lot. I really did. And the people that I talked to and the people that I played with, they enjoyed the game a lot as well. You know, they all had their misgivings, and we've talked about many of them here. But for me, just one thumb up. It's good. It's a great roll and write game. There's a lot of good thought process in it. The mechanisms are very solid. Just, you know, not kind of what I want. But it's still a good game. And I think there's a lot of people out there that would really enjoy it. So I'm going to give it one thumb up. I think you should go check it out at the very least. And that's that for my rating. Okay, here we go. Brink, Kabuki Kid. A neutron microscope is a different animal. They are sort of like X-ray machines in that they can penetrate to see things inside of materials that are hard to see inside of. Oh, so electron is what you meant because they can see down to a molecular level. There you go. What sparked the fireworks? One thumb and one glitter bomb up. Glitter bomb? What happened? Who did that? Are you being hacked, Sam? I might be. I don't know. I don't know what happened. I have no idea what just happened. I'm going back to watch. I think when Sam does two thumbs, it cues the effect. I don't understand what you're talking about. I don't know what effect you're talking about. I don't know what happened. All right, JP, what's your opinion of the board game Smash Up, specifically a concept where you purchase a board game but then can continue to purchase additional content as you like instead of a one-time buy? No, I did not do fireworks. I don't know who did the fireworks. That's funny. Try doing two thumbs up to the camera again. Boom! How's that? Two thumbs up. That's not my rating for the game, though. Did it do it again? This is funny. I'm being glitter bombed. Oh, it did a little thumb thing. Oh, interesting. We had fireworks behind you. Oh, I have no idea. I think it is some sort of iPhone filter effect. Hand motions cue it. Oh, well, that's kind of interesting. It's an animated thumb next to you that time. Oh, okay. Now you got a bubble thumb up. Interesting. Well, I did just... Well, I don't know that that would have any effect. I mean, I just upgraded to Mac OS. No, I'm not using an Apple camera. I'm just using a regular old Panasonic 4K. But I did upgrade my my Mac to Sonoma last night. Maybe that has something to do with it. Bubble thumb. What if I do it again? What if I go boom, boom? I don't know. This is funny. This is interesting. We had fireworks behind you. Oh, I don't think I'm being hacked, but you never know. Nope, didn't do it that time. Didn't do it that time either. Funky. Funky is right. Anyway, I think we're belaboring the point just a stretch. I think you get the idea here. Do double thumbs again. Like this. Oh, whoa! That did it! Holy Moses! What was that? Woo! Dang! I like it! I saw it this time! That's something pretty cool. That has got to be a new plugin or something to that effect on my Mac, because it happened in my Wirecast, but not anywhere else. So I'm going to do it again. Yeah. What? Oh, I'm having too much fun now. Oh, man. I am too easily amused, y'all. Too easily amused. There's a list guide there showing of all the effects you can cue. All right, I'm going to read it later because I'm going to use them puppers. That was cool. All right. Fire! Strider is hacking my computer. He also ordered biscuits. That's probably true, Matthew. That is funny. Funny. All right, well, I'm going to get on out of here. We're going to get to some other things, and we've got some people coming over for tonight for church group. Do the metal horns, 2 hands. Metal horns, yeah! Okay, I have to read the rest of that list now so that we know. You need a flaming pile of poop, thumbs down. A Katy Perry video? What? I don't know about this. Try doing 2 thumbs down. Boom! Oh, stormy weather! What am I, a dancing monkey for you people? Sam is in a Rush concert, right? Tom Sawyer's up next. Oh boy, that was funny. All right, I'm definitely reading that. I am going to open link in new tab. Thank you for that. Use video conferencing features. Oh dear. Yep. All right, I'm reading it. Oh. Boink. Oh. We'll see you guys later. Thanks for being here. We appreciate it. French Quarter gets 1 thumb up from me, and you should go check it out. It's a crunchy roll and write with some pretty decent thought processes that go into it. So go check it out. From 25th Century Games and Motor City Games. We'll see you guys and gals on the flip side. Take care.